Hey, 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 good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Brothers-in-law. Sorry we missed y'all last week, but my brother Mike was a little bit under the weather. But Mike, man, good to be back with you, bro. How you feeling
Uh,
tonight, dog?
I'm feeling pretty good, man. I was down for a couple of days for a minute there last week and hit me
Yeah.
hard. All is negative, and I'm good to go.
Hey, well, hey, that's a blessing, man. So,
You know what I'm saying?
we glad to be back with y'all. Thank you for chiming in with us tonight. We got another good show for you, we believe. Tonight, we're going to talk about a good situation that happened. Mike, I think, was it last year, though, this happened?
It might have been. I can't remember the date, but I think it was. I think it was
I
last
think it
year.
was last year.
Sometime wasn't
One,
that long ago.
yeah, once again took place in Ravenna, Ohio, which is north of Canton, where Mike and I are both from. So before we dive into this video, please go ahead and hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Get this out far and wide throughout the YouTube world so that we get picked up by the algorithm and get this video out and all our other videos out to be liked and shared. So again, like we were just saying, this took place last August. Uh, a black male was sitting in his car in a shopping center, and another lady, I'm not sure if she was sitting in her car or not, but it appeared that to her that he had a weapon in his hand, and so she called the police on him, and uh, the interaction takes there, and it actually turned out for the good this time. And so we're gonna talk about this video and how our acronym C.A.L.M truly played a role in this, and this is what we're trying to stress to everybody with your interaction with law enforcement. So, Mike, you got anything else to add to this?
Only that we can always sit back and speculate on why this woman called. Yeah, she called because she thought this man had a gun in his hand, was waving a gun around. But we don't. I don't know if this woman what her ethnicity was, whether she was white or black. I don't know. I don't know if she had some level of intimidation and called the police because this was a black guy. I don't know. You see what I'm saying? But neither here nor there. The point is, the police were called by a citizen to investigate this incident. So I just want to put that out there because a lot of people will. The first thing they're going to think of is, okay, here we go again. Why would somebody call the cops on a black man sitting in his car? You see what
Right.
I mean? And I don't know. We don't know. I don't know what this woman's mentality was. I can only tell you what she called in to report to police.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
as officers do, when we get that call, we're gonna respond. We're not thinking about, oh, she called because he was black. We're thinking about the details of the call. Who are we looking for, and what are we looking for, and why are we getting ready to contact someone? You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Right. And
So
keep in mind too that, like you just said, Mike, that's the last thing we're always worried about is the color of it, of that person. When you say that there's a weapon involved, automatically for me, I start thinking tactical. All right. If
right,
he has a weapon, what am I going to do? Where am I going to put my car? How am I going to position my car when I'm parked in relation to where this gentleman is parked? You know what I mean? I'm thinking about coverage. There's a lot of things I'm thinking about in that situation, other than the color of this person I'm getting ready to encounter.
that's a
So
very, very good point you bring up there, and you open it up a little bit for me to think even more on that. You're right. When we are en route to that call, that's exactly what I'm thinking of too. There's a tactical approach. So for our citizens to get an idea of what I can tell you instantly what an officer is thinking when he starts up his patrol car and he's en route to that call. And like Corey said, it's all about I'm thinking tactical approach. I'm thinking what ifs. What if this guy gets out of the car when I need to contact him? What if this guy is confrontational with me? How am I going to handle that? What if
hmm
this guy has a gun, in fact, does have a gun, and decides to
hmm
pull it on me? What
Right.
if I get there and he starts shooting? What if he's in some kind of crisis or something and he wants to be suicidal with a gun in his car? We're
Yep.
thinking about all of those possibilities while
Yep.
en route to that call.
Yep.
So we can come up with some kind of plan.
Yep.
And like you said, Corey, call of a gun, we're not going to take that lightly. We're not going to respond to that call as if and have the mentality of he probably don't have a gun. They just thought they had a gun. We can't,
Right.
as officers, we can't afford to think like that going
Right.
to a call for service.
Yep. Hey, Zach. Hey, Anthony. Good to see you. Welcome to the show, Zach. Thank you. Yep. Let's go, Brandon. Hey, go. All right. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and jump into this video here and we'll start our commentating.
Put your hands up for us. Put your hands up. Yeah.
You got it on, Corey? I don't see it on my side.
All right, why don't you step out?
Oh, hold on. My fault. I forgot. You know what? That last week messed me up.
Hold on, folks. Technical.
Hold on. My bad. I forgot to share.
Just a second.
I jumped again. Hold on. I got to share the screen. My bad, y'all.
But
That's
again,
what
guys, again, for our viewers, this is a call for service. The officers were called to this scene because someone suspected that this guy had a gun in his while he was sitting in the car, was waving his gun around. That's the call for service here.
All right, here we go.
Hey, keep your hands up. Put your hands up. Put your hands up for us. Put your hands up. Yeah. Yep. Up. Tell you why we're here. Okay. All right, why don't you step out the vehicle for me? Just gonna pat you down real quick, okay? That's how you want to do it. 18-400. Oh well.
Pause before a sec, Corey.
Correct.
Yep.
6 and 7.
I just want to explain real quick, even up to this point, why these officers are behaving this way and doing what they're doing. Keep in mind, folks, this is a call of a man with a gun. We don't know if he has a gun or not, but we have to assume that that's what was called, as it was reported. We have to tactically be safe in order to make sure whether that's the case or not. So right out the gate, the officers, you heard them say, "Let me see your hands." Common tactic. I need to see your hands. That way I can be sure you don't have nothing in them and you ain't gonna reach for nothing. That's number one.
Yeah, and keep in mind, as an officer, your weapon is going to be drawn when you're going up on. You may not be drawing down on that person per se, but you're going to have what we say having your weapon at the ready. In other words, it's still out in front of me, but the barrel of my weapon is pointed down, right? So then if I have to engage, I can easily come up and get on target. So yes, in a case like this, their weapons may be drawn. One officer may have their weapon drawn, the other one may have a taser out. But there'll be a combination or in our case, like I said, at the time we didn't carry tasers. So it's a good chance that, all of us will have our weapons out until we can render that scene safe.
Right.
Then we'll holster up and everything. And now also to pay attention to the tone of the voice of the officers. They weren't yelling and cursing and screaming at them. They were just, "Hey, let me see your hands."
Yeah,
Everything
very
was nice.
direct.
Right. Everything was very nice and cordial.
And keep in mind, like we said before, the officers are already at a position of disadvantage, because if he really did have a gun and was ready to shoot someone.
I think I lost you, Mike. So I think what Mike was getting to, I think he's gonna have to.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
I got
Go
you.
ahead.
Yeah, like I was saying, we already at a point of disadvantage just by approaching this car with a man possibly having a gun. It turns out he didn't have a firearm,
Right.
but we don't know that when you first approach. So you have to behave and have a tactical approach as if he did have a firearm. Go ahead.
Okay, here we go.
Charles Ocean Paul, Zebra Georgetown, COOPZGT. Yeah. Relax. Just sit down and relax. So the reason we're here is Darren Cooper, played by 2021. Owner $8. It was your phone that you was.
iPhone. I have two phones. I have a flip phone, work cell phone, and I have my iPhone. Personal. Why would somebody think it's a gun? I'm not sure. You can check. Like I said, I can hold it up like this. Probably. I'm not sure. Somebody somebody walked across.
Someone seen and looked over and said, Scott and Mustang waving a gun around.
Yeah, I got it. I didn't want to delay for my trade.
And no, and the one officer pulled in and said, well, it looks like you had the phone. You're talking on your phone. So.
I was talking to the speaker.
Okay.
And said, I don't want you to know about that. I'll talk to the speaker because I'm driving. I do a lot of phone calls and different things.
There was somebody at the distance they saw. You got a gun, you were listening down by the window.
Okay. So when I saw you come in, I said, oh, they're here for something. So,
yes, we are.
And up to this point, this guy got a great attitude, you know, considering that, you know, he was directed out of his car and patted down, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw y'all coming up in Parkway here, so yeah. I saw he had this thing. Oh, I'll let you all know I have a CCW too.
You don't have your gun with you. Okay. You have your ID on you by any chance?
It's in the car.
Okay. Yeah, when he's done. All right.
So now it's your IDs in here? No, it's in the armrest right here. My wallet. It's like, yeah, black wallet.
See, I mean,
Like I said, sorry to start with you.
All right, okay.
Yeah, someone called.
Like that, we gotta. Okay.
I'm gonna stop it right there, Mike.
Okay.
So, I mean, you heard him say, you know, when we get a call like that, you know, and basically what he's saying is, you know, we have to respond to the call, even though, you know, it could have been a gun, maybe not, but we always have to do our due diligence. Anytime an officer gets a call for service, we have to respond to it. There's no A&Ms or buts. And a lot of times, again, you have to understand, you know, we have to go with what information was provided to us at that time. And then as we get there, we conduct the investigation to determine if, you know, if there's any to this call or not, which in this case, you know, there wasn't, which is great. Right. We would love every traffic stop to go like this. And the guy was totally cooperative. Right. What's the first letter and the acronym of CALM, right? Comply. And this is what he truly was doing. Zach's got a real lengthy comment here. Let's see. Zach says this was clearly well handled and well equipped with backup plus cooperation. What does it take for police officers to go to the what if? What does it take for people to be calm during a stop? Some videos you guys have done, the officers don't have that mindset. The public doesn't think to that extent either, which is a big issue. What is the disconnect there? So many situations, and this is an anomaly when it should be the majority shown and displayed.
Very good comment there, Zach. You know what? For me, what does it take for people to be calm? Looking at videos like this and watching Brothas-in-law. That's one of the reasons why we did this show. Yeah. Because, like we explained in the very beginning, why these officers made that kind of contact that they made. They were very direct. Let me see your hands. They immediately pulled the driver, which is the suspected person with the gun, out of the car. They immediately patted him down at least to make sure he didn't have any weapons. Yes, officers can legally pat search someone if they think it's a possibility that they may have weapons. They can't necessarily go in the pockets, physically in the pockets, but they can pat them down and see if they feel anything that may feel like a weapon.
Yeah.
And in this case, as you can see, that was normal. That's a reasonable response because of the type of call this is.
Yeah.
What do you say, Boyd?
I agree with you 100%. I think also to a lot of the disconnect, I think, Zach, comes from the media and how the media is portraying a lot of law enforcement on that aspect of your question. And then so people, a lot of people want to make someone's else's encounter with law enforcement their reality, when in fact every situation, I mean, Mike and I can both get pulled over by the police, and both of our situations is going to end up differently. Should have the same result, us being able to move on, but and again, it also too, like you said, Zach, depends on that officer too. Again, I always say that being a law enforcement officer is a calling. I think you just have to have that gift to be able to one, use discernment, what type of threat you really have, and to really use all that training that you've been through and not overreact to it, not having that mentality that you're going in here with guns ablazing.
Sure.
That's not the type of business we're in, going in with guns ablazing and everything. It's like, for me, Mike, and I'm sure just probably the same with you, I was always looking to, Lord, please don't let me have to fire this weapon. That was always my mentality when I went in. Every time I pulled that weapon out of my holster, I'm my mouth and my mind, I'm already calling on the Lord, please don't let me have to pull this trigger. So a lot, you have to rely on your training a lot. I mean, police officers are human beings too.
I agree. And also, I think that part of that disconnect, like Zach is saying, is people don't understand. A lot of us, people don't understand the tactics that are used by police. Now, this guy in this particular situation followed that C.A.L.M acronym to a T. Okay. Yeah. The first thing is he remained calm. He had three police officers rolled up on him very, quickly, but he didn't get upset. He wasn't argumentative. He was very cooperative, very calm, and just making sure he followed the instructions that the officers were giving him. But some other citizens may not have that kind of response. They may immediately get offended because why do I have three police officers running up on me? All I was doing was talking on my phone in the car. The point is, most citizens, you don't know why those officers are contacting you. In this case, you were reported as having a gun. You didn't know that. Okay. So it's good that you followed that C.A.L.M acronym, because you don't know why officers are responding and contacting you until they tell you. And another thing, the disconnect is people simply don't understand the tactics that police officers use. If you understood those tactics, then you would see, okay, the number one thing I need to do as a citizen is make sure I'm doing what these officers are ordering me to do. And then as it unfolds, they're going to tell you why they're stopping. This guy followed calm to a T. He remained calm. He answered any questions. He gave some explanation of why someone would think he had a gun. Well, I don't know. I got two cell phones. I was holding one up. And as these officers are starting to hear his explanation, he gave them consent to search his car. Keep in mind, officers have an obligation to make sure this guy doesn't have a gun all the way. Because let's say if he drives off and he ends up shooting his wife or something, and they come to find out that the officers contacted this guy who was reported as having a gun, and they missed the gun, or they didn't search his car, or they didn't try to search his car or pat him down. You see what I'm saying? Then the officer's going to be on the hook for that. You know what I'm saying? So, there's a reason why these officers had that kind of tactic in this call. This citizen didn't know that, but he still followed the C.A.L.M acronym, which kept everybody safe and everybody went home that day. That's what's important.
Yeah, I mean, that at the end of the day, the last letter in the acronym of M and moving on, That's what's important. Now,
Good question, Goat. Good question, Goat.
where you at?
He says, was this a town where having a gun is prohibited? I don't know. I don't know what the gun laws in that particular county are. Do you, Corey, you have any idea?
Well, I believe Ohio is an open carry state, anyways. But he mentioned in the video that he had his carry concealed weapon permit on him, but he didn't have the weapon on him. So, with that being said, I mean, I'm sure he was legal to have a weapon. Now, does this incident make this a racial incident? No, it doesn't.
No, race or not, those officers still got to handle that call exactly the way they handled it.
Right. Yeah, exactly the way they handle it. Now, I mean, as far as racism going, because a woman saw this man sitting in the car, what looked like appeared to be a weapon in his hand, and she calls the police. I what she had done if it was a white guy, I don't know.
Don't know. I don't know.
You don't know. I mean, you can try to skin that can any kind of way you want, but we don't know. We can't just speculate. Oh, here we go again. Black man getting a police called on just for sitting in the car for using the phone. So we can't even sit in our cars no more and use the phone without the police being called on. With the cell phone things, I mean, the way he had it, I mean, and where she might have been sitting could have looked like a weapon. It very well could have, based how his hand was holding the phone. It could have, and who knows if she had bad eyes? Obviously, she did. She couldn't tell a cell phone from a weapon, right?
Yeah,
but what do we always encourage our citizens to do? You see something, say something. We don't know, but I think this, it's one of those things. I think because it happens too often, sometimes I think we gotta reel back on automatically every time you have an encounter with law enforcement that is going to be a racist situation, and it's not always that case. And for me, I blame media on it all the time because that's what they want.
And also, let me clarify something with the GOAT. Since he asked the question about is having a gun prohibited, even if a gun was legal, when you in a car, if the way this was reported, from what I understand, even if he was legally able to have a gun, which in this case, if he had a concealed carry weapons permit, he was legally able to possess a gun. There's a difference between legally possessing a gun and sitting in your car and waving your gun around. Okay.
Right.
If you're sitting in your car waving your gun around, well, we can come to a lot of different conclusions on that, or possibilities on that, if we don't know the person or what they actually saw. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So keep in mind, just because you're legally able to possess a gun doesn't mean it's normal for you to be sitting in your car waving your gun around or pointing your gun at people or whatever he was reported as doing that required a police response. And I also agree with Zach. Not, police, they still have a job to do. Whether this woman was racist or not who called, whether she was wrong or right, the bottom line is the police got the call. We have to respond to that call as if it was reported to be true. And we have to handle that call until we determine otherwise. You see what I'm saying? So just keep that in mind. People don't know, citizens don't know that. And I think citizens have a hard time with understanding that concept. I'm glad he didn't have a gun. I'm glad it wasn't what was reported. And I'm glad everybody got to go home safely at the end of the day.
Yeah, I don't think you could have drew up a better traffic stop that, we would always love for them to turn out that way. And I'll bet my next paycheck on that. That's what you would get from every officer if you asked them about a perfect, traffic stop. What is it that you're looking for? Well, for me to be able to get back in my car and go home, and for them to sign this ticket and they get back in their car and drive off. Nobody wants to get into a shootout on a highway or in a shopping center or anywhere else. But like Zach said, the police have a job to do. We're not thinking about race or anything like that when we get, a call for service, especially a call for service like this when there's a weapon involved. The last thing I care about is your color. I'm looking at my safety, number one, officer safety, and then how do I got to bring this call to a conclusion that everybody gets to walk away safely. So,
and the important part we want to nail home too is number one, this guy, he handled himself exceptionally, this citizen, because yeah, I understand it could be quite intimidating, especially when you really ain't doing nothing and you got 3 cops rolling up on you like that, ordering you around. I can get how you might be intimidated by that or feel that your rights are violated and all of that. That's especially if you have no idea of tactics that police use in certain situations. He had no idea why these cops were contacting him. He had no idea that somebody reported him as having a gun, of all things. Okay, just sitting in his car. He didn't know any of that, but he followed that CALM acronym, and everything turned out fine. Okay, and I can't stress that enough. Look, even if these officers were racist, even if they were, okay.
Let's go down that. Let's go down that road, Mike. Go down that road.
Even if they were racist and they were doing something, he followed that CALM acronym, and they couldn't do nothing. They still had to do. They were going, oh yeah, you still got to handle the call the way you're supposed to. Okay, you still got to handle the call as an officer to be tactically sound and safe. You still have to assume that, yeah, this must be a guy with a gun until I prove otherwise. Okay, but as long as he followed that CALM acronym, he was good to go.
He was good to go. I mean, and let's just say the cops were racist, right? And they used all kind of profanity, call him the N-word, this, that. I mean, that guy, and he kept doing what he was doing and applying the CALM acronym. All he got to do is sit back and just let it all play out, and he'll get stroked a $2 million check for police harassment and excessive use of force or whatever he wanted to sue the city for, and he'd been chilling in the Bahamas somewhere drinking a Mai Tai. Right? You see, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. What he did was he took away the power of the police from doing anything stupid.
Yeah.
Right. Now they could would they've been
any more than it needed to be.
Right. Now they could have, put him in handcuffs or anything like that. I mean, could they have got him out the car at gunpoint, made him get down on the ground and then, handcuff him that way, pat him down, handcuff him? Would that have been wrong? No.
Not
because
necessarily.
what was the call? Right? Think about the call.
Yeah.
Right. So
no, so what we're saying is there could have been multiple ways officers would have handled that call.
Correct.
And any of the ones we mentioned as far as safety goes, as far as like you said earlier, Corey, you're gonna have your gun drawn on him initially. You may have your gun drawn on him initially, because of the type of call it is. But as long as remember, folks, our goal here is twofold. It's number one, to try to tell you why officers do some of the things they do so that you can have a better understanding of why they are acting a specific way in a specific scenario. Okay. And number two, we want to tell you what to do so that you can go home safely no matter what kind of officer you encounter, whether you encounter a racist cop, whether you encounter a non-racist. I hope you don't encounter a racist cop, but if you do, let's take race out of it. Sometimes you might encounter an officer that is really aggressive, that is really physically aggressive. Like you said, Corey, you gave a very aggressive scenario where an officer could have pulled him out at gunpoint, thrown him out on the ground, patted him down, and then figured out whether he had a gun. That could have happened. You see what I'm saying? But as long as you comply, answer questions, listen, so you can move on. Tell you what you can do to greatly increase your chances of going home safely. That's what it's about for me.
Yeah, that's what it's about. And then I think when you get that down, I think you'll be more relaxed and more calm when you have that interaction with law enforcement. You know, law enforcement are out here, you know, putting these badge and uniform on every day and saying, "Oh, how many people I'm gonna gun down today?" No, you don't have to have that type of mentality. If you doing what we're telling you to do, staying calm and showing you the example of perfectly how this citizen here handled it, you're gonna be fine. You know, quit listening to media and how they're bashing the police and putting the police departments down as if everybody's putting that uniform on and going out and just gunning down people. You know good and well that's not true, right? So we had to be, like Mike said, we got to think about what we're saying. This is why we're doing these type of videos, to break it down, to give you the mindset of a police officer and why things unfold the way they do. Because the more you know, the more educated you are when you get into these stops. You know, right, first thing, do, all right, I need to comply with whatever they say. And especially if you know you didn't do anything wrong. Like this gentleman, he knew he didn't do anything wrong. In his mindset, I'm assuming, hey, let me just find out what these guys want.
Let me do what they say, and then I'm sure I'm gonna find out what's going on afterwards. That was his mindset. He wasn't a hothead. He wasn't argumentative. He wasn't any of those things that will increase his chances of something more happening to him than what it did. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now I understand that he's gonna go after the person who called. You know, okay,
rightly so.
I prefer you do that than to turn yourself into something that's aggressive on the scene and escalating a contact with these officers into something that doesn't need to be. I would much rather you do that. We always encourage, go to court afterwards. Don't do nothing stupid on the street when you are in contact with these officers. You know?
Yeah, you fight your battles in court and not on the side of the road. And yeah, I mean, I'd probably would have recommended to him to lawyer you up and go after the lady that made the fall. Right. Now, whether or not he gets anything out of it, I don't know. I mean, could she have just been totally wrong? Sure. I mean, you're going to have to try to prove that it was racist simply because he was black. She called. I mean, you got to prove a whole bunch of stuff, and you can't just yell racism. You got to prove it.
Yeah, and it's going to be unlikely that, in my opinion, it's going to be unlikely that this woman, unless she came out and said, well, I just called because he was black. Unless she comes out and says that, it's going to be hard to get her on any kind of punitive thing. Because what you don't want to do, what you can't do is you don't want to discourage people from calling the police if they feel they need to. If people start getting sued in court for calling the police in the first place, what's that going to do to other citizens when they really should be calling the police and they say, I ain't messing around with that. I might get sued. You know what I'm saying? You can't really send that message either.
Right. I mean,
everybody sue everybody all the time, right? Cops know that very well. So, you know what I'm saying? Never know.
Yeah, Zach says, perfect stop. You guys should use this when people want to know what it looks like when it goes good. Let the light shine. Yeah, I mean, this is a great training video right here, especially with the acronym of C.A.L.M playing out here to the T. Again, like I said in our very first video that Mike and I did, you know, this is a two-way street. Right. We know the officer has a responsibility, but citizens, guess what? We have a responsibility too when we are contacted by law enforcement or come into contact by law enforcement. Right. We cannot just fly off the handlebars and just start being combative with the law enforcement. Right. Because what does that do to us, Mike? That raises red flags for us. Like, okay, what are you trying to hide? That's going to prompt the officer to want to dig more into the situation. But if you're remaining calm, you're answering their questions, you're listening to what they're telling you, what you may need to do or what they need you to do, and then ultimately you get to move on. Again, moving on may be being released or moving on. Maybe you may be going to jail, but whatever the case may be, you're still alive to continue that fight, whether it be in court or whatever other ways you want to handle this situation, placing a complaint to the precinct, to the watch commander, or whoever the supervisor may be. Whatever that case is, I mean, you're getting to move on, and that's what's important. That's what we want to send home.
Yeah, and I know the GOAT says I never thought of this as a race thing, and yeah, I didn't think of it as a race thing either. But the reason why I bring race up, because I think when people look at this video without having someone explain the things to them like Corey and I are explaining, I think unfortunately, naturally, their first thought process is probably here we go, a black guy sitting in a car talking on his phone, and somebody decides, and these 3 cops roll up on him. You know that there's going to be a lot of black folks that's just going to look at that and make up their own conclusions or perceptions about how that's a racist issue. There are people who will do that. You know that, GOAT. But I know what you mean. But you know what, Corey? Let me put a different spin on this. What if those officers rolled up on that scene and this guy didn't follow that C.A.L.M acronym? Let's say he right out the back becomes confrontational with police, don't want to answer questions, or tries to drive off, tries to get back in his car and drive off after they got him out, not even knowing why they called. They're not even giving these officers time to even explain to him why they called. And he tries to get back in the car, okay? And the officer's ordering him not to get back in the car, but he gets back in that car, reaches in that car for something, he could get shot, And the reason why he would get shot is we just got a call of you with a gun, and I'm telling you not to go back in your car, but you are going back in your car against my orders. I don't know what you're reaching for. I can't allow you the time to reach for a gun and pull a gun out on me. You see what I'm saying? I'm not going to wait until I see you turn around pointing a gun at my face before I might shoot. It might be too late. You might get to drop on me and I might get shot first. You see what I'm saying? So these are reasons why it's important to maintain that C.A.L.M acronym. You know what I'm saying? Comply. Don't get so upset with the fact that you got 3 cops up on you, ordering you around, that you start doing things that can be unsafe in the mind of those officers.
Right.
Okay. And that the shooting part, how this could have ended up in a shooting, that could be extreme, but something like that very conceivably could happen if this turned out the wrong way. If this citizen decided to do things that did not follow that C.A.L.M acronym, if he started to do things that started to open up those doors of something bad happening. So it's important. This is why it's important for Corey and I to at least explain to citizens, this is what you should be thinking, this is what you should be doing, no matter what, because we want citizens to go home safe. That's what we want.
Yeah. Zach says, my mentality with police has always been treat them as a supervisor. I've been on bad stops. I've been on great ones. Treat them with respect and build a rapport. Plus, if they screw up, it's all on tape now.
That's right.
All on tape now.
That's right. It's all on tape now. I mean, everything is videotape. I think officers, especially in these times and ages, every officer should assume that they're going to be on videotape. And every officer should have body cameras. Unfortunately, there might be some places throughout the country, Corey, where some departments actually don't have body cameras, which is shocking to me. Shocking to me.
I still think I don't think my old department does. I know as of last year they were still going through a pilot program and testing different models out. I don't know if they come to the conclusion of which one they're going to go with, but I know they're headed in that direction. So if not already, I'm pretty sure within the end of this year, beginning of next year, that they'll all be outfitted with them.
Yeah.
You know, and again, to Zach's point, you know, again, like I said, it's a two-way street. You know, you giving respect. You know, I'm only going to react how you are. If you're coming at me sideways, well, I might come at you a little, you know, sideways too, because I'm not going to sit here and just let you berate me. No, they don't pay enough for me saying, I'm a man just like you a man. I put my pants on one leg at a time like you do. So you show me that respect, I'm gonna show you that same respect back. And that's what it's going to have to take. I mean, we all live in the same community. You know, we're here. The police are there to protect and serve. Right. That's what they're supposed to be doing. Right. If you get the call and the police pull you over because you're driving that vehicle that matched the description that was involved in armed robbery or rape or whatever the case may be, let's figure it out first before we, you know, jump off the bridge and just start. Because when you do that, like I said earlier, you know, you're going to raise a whole bunch of red flags, and those red flags are going to make us dig more into this case. Now, like you said about, you know, if he didn't follow the C.A.L.M acronym, you know, how bad, yeah. As soon as he starts, you know, being argumentative and not following our orders and things like that, then we're only going to assume then, you know, you got something to hide. You're not keeping your hands out of your pockets when we're asking you to keep your hands out of your pockets. You keep putting them back in. You know, those are all red flags for us, right?
Yeah.
Whether he may have, because that's what we have to find out, right? That's why the officers were there, to find out if he had a weapon. Now, if you being combative and not following our orders, how are we going to figure that out? Now I'm just going to assume you got a gun on, like Mike said. You know, and the perfect example of that, Mike, would have been the gentleman that got shot last year up in, I want to say, Racine, Wisconsin.
Name escapes me. Or the guy who reached in the car.
Yeah.
Where the cops were called because of some argument. His
he violated.
Yeah.
He violated a protection order.
Yeah.
Got into a scuffle with the cops. He was known. He was a known individual for having weapons. So he breaks free from them, runs back to his car, and goes in the car and reaches on the front floorboard right there. And so, like you said, Mike, he ended up getting shot. Right. If this guy would have done that,
actions were threatening. They showed.
Right.
I can't wait for you to pull a gun and point it at my face, because
I'm not going to do that.
It's too late.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm going to get shot, and I'm not going home to my family that day. You see what I'm saying? So it's important to comply. And Zach, the first part of your comment I want to address a little bit. You said my mentality with police has always been treat them as a superior. I know what you mean. Some people might have an issue with that, though. When you use the word superior, I prefer to use the word they're the authority. You know what I'm saying? So if they are the authority, when I was growing up, we all were taught to respect authority. So if the officer said, I need this from you or I need that from you, you gave it to him. There was no argumentative. There was no, you can't do that, or you can't do this, or I'm not going to do what you tell me to do. I think, unfortunately, these generations today, they've developed that kind of mentality towards positions of authority, where they feel that they don't have to follow authority. They don't have to do what they are told to do. But when it comes to policing on the street, that authority has to come into play, or you can't enforce any law. You can't arrest anybody without authority. All officers have to have an attitude of, I'm the boss and I'm going to tell you what to do, to some degree, because if they don't, they're going to get run over on the street. You see what I'm saying? And people going to take advantage of them.
I agree with you. I don't.
Go ahead, Corey.
I don't know so much if I would say that, you know, that I'm the boss, but I look at it as command presence.
Command, yeah, okay. Command presence. Good word.
I like that, because I want you to know when I come in on scene that I'm in control. Now that's even before I open my mouth. You're already gonna know, okay, he's in charge, right? The badge gives me that authority. that uniform gives me that authority, and those tools around my waist give me that authority. I'm in charge, right? So I don't have to go there being cocky and and
Right.
and
I
and, and, and,
definitely,
ha-
I agree with that. Definitely.
and have an attitude like, I'm gonna start bashing some heads in. Totally uncalled for. Your presence alone gives you that authority before you even open your mouth and utter your first words. So, I like the command presence, right? Before that, now I'm speaking, then obviously, yeah, that's gonna play a role in it too. But yeah, I agree with you too on that. Mutual respect. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's that 2021 youth, though. I hear you, Zach. I hear you.
yeah. I mean that, and that's the thing with these videos that we do, Mike. We know that our audience is, the age group is usually probably about our age group, right? Maybe
Yeah.
between the 40s and 50 range age group. So this is why we're relying on you guys to smash that like button and share this out so that we get into that YouTube algorithm and get this out to different people's pages, and so that they can hear this. I mean, there's a way that we can get on a bigger platform to share this C.A.L.M acronym with folks, man. But please let me know who to talk to, because I sure enough would get on the phone and call them up, because I think this is very important, because there's no reason for you to have an encounter, whether you're black, white, Chinese, Hispanic. It doesn't matter. You're in, everybody's end result should be the same, whether it's going to jail or getting a ticket, or getting a warning, or hey, I'm sorry, you're not the person we're looking for. You're free to go. Wherever the case may be. The bottom line is everybody should be able to move on in some way, shape, or form. And that's what we're trying to get to. But if you're being that, like Zach said, what did he say? The 2021 youth. And having that type of mentality where it's like these guys and girls like have no respect. I mean, even in the schools. I mean, that's something else I think we probably should talk about. Really working on this and trying to get it into the schools. I got an idea, but they need to understand that we need to have respect. They need to respect the rule of law, and without the rule of law, you don't have a functioning society. What you think,
Yeah,
Mike?
and the problem is, with like you said, the problem is today is these kids. When you talk about the rule of law, their first instinct is to argue the rule of law. You see what I'm saying? And if they
Yeah.
don't agree with the rule of law, their first reflex is to not follow the rule of law. Instead of trying to change the law in proper ways, they want to take action first of not following it and then worry about the consequences or worry about the proper way of changing it later. You see what I'm
Right.
saying? And that's the problem that I have. But like I say, the reason why we do this is to at least we want to tackle your immediate contact with police, which is on the street. Most citizens, the very first contact and sometimes the only contact they've ever had with police is on the street, whether they are being pulled over, whether they are being stopped and detained, or anything along those lines. Sometimes it could be a non-enforcement contact where you just happen to see officers on the street and you're having a conversation with them, whether it's a cocky officer or a calm officer, or all in between. That's their first contact. So at least we can try to get people to know how to respond and react to police officers when they're contacted, and what will definitely go in that danger zone and what will get you to move on and go home.
Yeah. So please hit that like, share, and subscribe button for us. Also, too, if you don't mind jumping on over to YouTube and hitting that like button over there as well, to get into the YouTube algorithm. I'm not sure how the algorithm works here on Facebook when you hit that smash button or hit that like button. But we thank you for chiming in this evening and great conversation. This is what we like to do. Yeah, Zach. One of the things I like to do, and Mike and I have talked about before, is we were wanting to do a show with the moms and get the moms on here and share their thoughts and what they're teaching their kids about how to interact with law enforcement. Maybe we can shed some light and give them a few tips on maybe helping them talk to their kids about law enforcement. So fellas, if you got a girlfriend or a wife that like to come on the show with us, go ahead and hit us up in an email. Well, all of you guys on here know how to get a hold of me, but I will put up our email. Hit us
And
up.
also, hey, we could also do a combination. We could do a combination of moms and dads for that matter.
Yeah, I
You know
mean,
what I'm saying?
however, yeah,
And
however,
have everybody up there. If you
Yeah.
got questions or you got something that what happens if you do this, or what happens if you don't do that, or anything.
Yeah.
We'll do our best to answer those questions with our combined years of experience in law enforcement. I'm sure we can tackle some of them questions, right? So hit us up.
Yeah.
Round table. Yeah, that's a good idea, Zach. Round table.
Yeah. We'd love to do a round table. So I know I have a lot of friends on Facebook, so I expect all of them to share this out and come on. Now, Mike and I will facilitate this, and so that it all stays respectful and everybody will respect everybody's opinion. And that's because we're all different. So how you raise your kids is not how I raise my kids, right? So, but at the end of the day, we're all going to respect the rule of law, and that's what we're talking about. How do we move on safely? So, thank you for joining in, Tone. Thank you, brother, man. We love you, Tone, man. Love Tone been on here, and Zach been on here since day one. So, thanks, man.
Our day ones right there, huh?
Yeah. So Tone says, Zach, that he agrees with you on the dad video, but like Corey always says, and I heard it this morning, they twisted the comments of the dads. Yeah. So much love to y'all, man. Like I said, hit that smash button on Facebook and on YouTube, and we will see y'all next week.
Peace.
Peace.